with Together West Michigan. Oh, I think it's picking up, isn't it? Oh, okay. Thought it was picking up without this. Okay. Oh, wow, that's better. Oh, that's better. Thank you. All right, I'm Meredith Bradley, member of Fountain Street Church, leader with Together West Michigan, and I'm here to welcome you to Together West Michigan's 2024 Candidate Accountability Session. Woo! Our title for today is Crossing Lines, Building Power. And that's the business we're here to do. So come on in, find a seat, don't be shy, don't have to sit at the back, there's seats closer to the front. Make sure you have your agenda and commitment card. You should have received that at the registration table. Housekeeping, there are bathrooms outside the sanctuary directly back. Childcare is available. It's downstairs. If you need some help finding that, go to the registration table. There are interpreters available for both Spanish and Swahili, and there's equipment at the tables in the lobby to help you with that. We have safety team members here. They're in those bright vests, and they're here to make sure you feel safe. So don't be afraid. If there's any questions or issues you need help with, ask them. And just like a voting station, we are nonpartisan. So no campaign materials, shirts, buttons, flyers, or petitions are allowed here at the event. And thank you for respecting that. So before we start, I'd like to ground us in the purpose of this morning's action. Our action today is not a campaign event or a town hall. This is an accountability session. And it's a time for the community and the voters to ask the candidates to commit to our issue agenda so that we can make an informed decision at the polls and hold the officials accountable once they are elected and are in office. Some of us may be friends with these candidates. We might attend worship service with them, or otherwise actively support them. But today is not about loyalty to any candidate. Together West Michigan is fiercely nonpartisan. Together West Michigan never endorses candidates. And when it comes to being accountable to the concerns of the community, there are no permanent allies, and by the same token, no permanent opposition. Together West Michigan is here to advance the well-being of the people who live here by continuing to identify issues that are a concern to families and by moving our agenda forward. So, thank you for being here this morning. Your presence shows our elected representatives that issues affecting families in Grand Rapids and across Kent County are of great concern, and we, the people, are committed to doing something about it. Are you ready to begin? Yeah. All right, I like that. So let's welcome our co-chairs and candidates for this morning.
Good morning, candidates. Good morning, Together West Michigan. It is a good morning because this is democracy, is it not? We have public servants coming into the room because they serve the people, right? They serve us. This is democracy, is it not? It is a good morning, Together West Michigan, that we are here at our third candidate accountability session. Each and every one of you here has listened. You have gathered information. You are here to raise up issues and hold these candidates accountable. Good morning again. My name is Peter Tewinkle. I'm a pastor here at Oakdale Park Church with Pastor James Jones, co-pastor together and co-chair for you this morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, my name is Banza Mukalai. I am a pastor at Restoration Community Church, and I am a co-chair today. I want to start with what Together West Michigan is. Together West Michigan is a broad-based power organization. Our mission is to be a vehicle for regular people to have a powerful voice at the tables where decisions are made about our lives. We are 18 members institution strong, representing 18,000 people across the Kent County. Growing, and we are member of Industrial Area Foundation Network, the national largest and longest standing network of faith and community groups. We are a non-partisan organization. We do not oppose or support candidates or political parties. Our issues are our candidates, and our priority is getting things done.
Absolutely. You heard that right? 18 organizations, 18,000 people that we represent in the room today. We have two issues today, two things we want to accomplish: to make our issues known and to get some answers from those who will pledge to work with us. So if you're all ready to get started, I want to invite forward Pastor Nathan Dennison from Fountain Street Church, who will lead us in our opening invocation.
Good morning, saints. Good morning. Again, my name is Nathan Dennison. I serve the Fountain Street Church of Grand Rapids. Fountain Street is a diverse and interreligious community that's lived in the city for over one and a half centuries. And so on behalf of the members and leadership of Fountain Street Church, I greet you this morning with words of welcome and solidarity. And solidarity because we do not enter into this day and this session lightly. And today is a deeply holy day as well. Today in the Jewish calendar concludes Yom Kippur, the holiest day. It's a day for repentance and honesty. And it is also Dussehra, the Hindu festival that celebrates the victory of good over evil. It marks the beginning of the labor that will lead us to Diwali, Festival of Light. And so today here at Oakdale Park Church, we will hear true words and promises made, I hope. We may hear words of atonement and repentance, and today we will work together to cross the lines that have divided us. And so let us invoke a blessing on this special day, and let it be a blessing of gratitude. Gratitude is a holy word. Gratitude for fellow travelers here in this room on this journey, right here, and for fellow travelers on the journey that seeks an honest common good over everything that appears to divide us. Amen? Amen. Amen. Amen.
Sister Bridget Klingman, Promoter of Justice, that's a title. Promoter of Justice from the Dominican Sisters of Grand Rapids, will lead us in our roll call.
Thank you. Good morning. I am going to call out in solidarity all of our members so that we know one another as we walk together. And I ask you to respond with excited enthusiasm. Dominican Sisters of Grand Rapids and their associates. Yay! Cathedral of St. Andrews. Woo! Neelan Avenue Christian Reformed Church. Yay! Everbroom Montessori. Fountain Street Church. St. Mark's Episcopal Church. Bethany Christian Services Community Outreach Team. Yahoo! Trinity Reformed Church. Restoration Community Church. Fuller Avenue Christian Reformed Church. Classis, Grand Rapids, east of the Christian Reformed Church. Our host congregation, Oakdale Park Church.
Yay!
And finally, all of our neighbors and friends who have joined us this morning. Yay!
As you heard about crossing lines, building power. Together, West Michigan exists to combat polarization by building relationships across lines that tend to divide based on skin, color, where we live, economic situation, languages, gender, and many more barriers. We focus on things we have in common. We are strategic in terms of sharing what we find, and that's what we are about. We are building relational powers. Here is a list of things we've found: mental health care, affordable quality child care, affordable housing, neighborhood safety, and well-being of new Americans. Thank you.
There's this theory in the exercise world called time under tension. Time under tension says that the longer you hold something, the stronger your muscles can get. So you can't just move your arm up and down a bunch of times and think that you're going to get stronger. Time under tension stretches your muscles. Time under tension calls for something deeper inside your muscles. Time under tension tells you to hold positions for a very long time that ends up causing a lot of discomfort. Here's the problem. Our brains don't like discomfort. We don't really like tension. We like things to be safe. We like things to be comfortable. We like things to be predictable. So unfortunately, that means it feels natural to avoid different types of people, different points of view, because it's uncomfortable, it's tense. But this is exactly the lesson that Together West Michigan has been trying to get us to learn over the last few years and live into. Building power requires time under tension. Making change demands that we are willing to be uncomfortable. So we can't just spend time with people who are like us or agree with us. Tension demands discomfort. And while it might feel uncomfortable, it is not unhealthy, because this is how we get stronger. This is how we go deeper. This is precisely the way we cut through simplistic answers and petty partisanship. We are here today to let these candidates know that we are focused on our issues. We'll work with anyone who wants to work with us, but we are willing to stretch. We are willing to stand firm. We are willing to stay in uncomfortable conversations as long as it takes, because we are not afraid of tension. We are here this morning. That's right. We are here this morning because there are issues that are important to us and important to our neighbors. Because we want to hold them accountable to work with us on those things, we will stay here and hold them accountable until we can get sustainable solutions to the issues that keep our neighbors up at night. Am I right? Together West Michigan reached out to all of the candidates beforehand to give them an opportunity to hear the questions they'll hear again this morning, so there won't be any surprises for anybody up here. Here are some of the ground rules that we're asking you all to follow as we go through this session. A reminder that this is Together West Michigan's meeting, a meeting about specific issues, not a general policy forum. We'll ask you to stay within the time frame that you're given as you are here with us, just like we do when we come to see you. There are people willing to interrupt if necessary. And we're asking you not to talk about or disparage your opponents in any way. Please stay focused on the issues we're bringing to you. And once again, no distribution of literature or merchandise on the property. So with those rules in place, who's ready to get started? Our first issue on the table this morning is childcare. Scott Bloom, Executive Director of Otherway Ministries, Annie Cloyd, Program Director from Everbloom Montessori, and Amber Mars Momini, Executive Director of Westminster Child Development Center, are coming forward to share their stories.
Good morning. My name is Scott Bloom. I'm the Executive Director at the Otherway Ministries. We've been supporting our West Side community and doing community with our West Side neighbors for almost 60 years now. And as an organization that provides affordable childcare to our community, I want to kick this section off with a quote, and that is that childcare is the work on which all other work depends. This is not a partisan issue, this is a community issue, and this is an economic issue. And childcare for ages 0 to 4 before preschool is extremely expensive, and there are not a lot of funding mechanisms to help folks that cannot afford it. I don't know if you know this, but the US government has a figure, and that is that households should not spend more than 7% of their annual income on childcare. I appreciate the laughs, that's good. Because in Kent County, 7% of area median income is $5,400 a year. And childcare is about $300 a week market rate, if you can find that, which comes to $15,000 a year. That is 4 times the federal poverty level that a household has to make in order to afford childcare. That's also 19,000 children in Kent County that live in households that cannot afford childcare. So things have to change. Sometimes people ask, why is childcare so expensive? Well, in order to pay childcare development workers far less than they deserve, centers have to charge fees that most families can't afford. The business model doesn't work, unless we want it to stay the way it is, which is essentially working in the luxury market, where there's scarcity and high cost. We absolutely have to change these things. There are some funding mechanisms available for children and families who can't afford it, but those really are, you can only be eligible for those if you make 2 times the federal poverty level or lower, not the 4 times the income that's needed for families to actually afford it. Things need to change drastically. Public funding needs to be put behind this issue, and I believe that needs to happen universally so. So please help us do that, and thank you for your time today.
My name is Annie Cloyd, and I am a co-director of Everbloom Montessori. I have been working in early childhood education for over 12 years. I can sum up what I love about my job in one word: people. I love the children, the staff, and the families I get to work with and interact with on a daily basis. I believe childcare should be affordable to all families. I also believe staff working in the childcare field deserve to be paid wages representative of the hard work and high skill set required for early childhood education. What I don't like about my job is how often these 2 things are at odds with each other. The MD-HHS scholarship program can help some families with the high cost of childcare, but the system is outdated and hard to navigate. One of our parents trying to navigate this system recently told us, "I have resubmitted the paperwork with my provider a few times now. In the past 3 days, I have tried to reach out to my DHS worker, but I've been anywhere from the 70th to the 140th person in line." Another issue is the shortage of high-quality personnel and the complications of trying to provide them a salary that allows them to thrive. Several of our employees hold secondary jobs in order to achieve financial security. Just this past year, one staff member decided to leave the whole profession of childcare. She came to Everbloom a few years ago after just completing her degree in early childhood education. This past summer, she came to our admin team and told us that while she felt heartbroken about her decision, she truly did feel it was time for her to leave the early childhood field, as she was too burnt out by the demands of this job and her second job she needed to pay her bills to continue in this profession any longer. Regrettably, the only feasible way to provide our employees with greater compensation is to increase tuition, a measure which would further burden those families we serve. This chaotic loop is where so many childcare facilities find themselves, and often the answer for many is to close their doors, which only leads to more families without care and more staff without jobs. This is why I and all who work in the early childhood education ask you to help us find a solution to what is clearly a very broken model.
My name is Amber Mars-Momini, and I'm the director of Westminster Child Development Center. I've been working in the early childhood field for a little over 20 years. I would like to echo what my co-directors just shared with you. These, unfortunately, are not stories that are unique to their programs. Instead, these are problems that are far too common in most early childhood facilities throughout our community. Early childhood education is crucial to not only the future successes of our children, but for our communities as a whole. When we invest in our children and provide high quality care and education, our society flourishes. This is where our candidates, this is where we need you to help us out. How, you ask? First, we are asking that you restore the Child Care Scholarship reimbursement rate to their 2023 levels. At a minimum, that's an 11% increase, or a $47,740,000 a year. Eventually, Michigan must reimburse on the true cost of care, which would include attracting and maintaining the talents of early childhood professionals. Let me tell you that again, we are professionals. Okay. And we need to be paying these educators what they deserve, not the least that we can get away with. Okay. Second, we are calling on legislators to work alongside us to establish a dedicated early childhood fund in the state budget. This fund would finance the increase of child care scholarship reimbursement rates, support staff networks for in-home providers, also add and subsidize statewide mental health consultants, and assist providers caring for children with challenging behaviors and special needs, as well as other critical support services. What do you all think? Are we ready to hear from our candidates? At this time, I would like to invite our State House candidates to please come forward. Representative Carol Glanville, District 84. John Wenzel, District 84. Representative John Fitzgerald, District 83. Tommy Brand, District 83. Representative Christian Grant, District 82. Stephen Wooden, District 81. Representative Phil Skaggs, District 80. Okay. Thank you, candidates. At this time, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. You will each just answer yes or no to all of the questions. After that, you will be given 1 minute to expand on your answer. Along with the first question, if you could please just restate your name and the district that you're representing. If elected, will you commit to supporting increasing funds for child care scholarships to the level that they were at prior to the ending of the pandemic ARPA federal subsidies, which would mean increasing by at least 11%, or the $47,740,000 a year, yes or no?
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry, Carol Glanville, 84th House District.
Same question. Go.
Yep, keep going.
You don't say the whole thing over again?
Nope.
Imagine that.
Nope.
Yes, John Wetzel, state rep, candidate for state rep, District 84.
John Fitzgerald, state representative in the 83rd House District. The answer is yes.
Tommy Brands, candidate for 8th 3rd District, state rep, yes.
Christian Grant, state representative for the 82nd District, and yes, I would support.
Stephen Wooden, candidate for state representative in the 81st District, and of course, yes.
Phil Skaggs, state representative for House District 80, an enthusiastic yes.
Thank you, candidates. Our second question. Will you commit to working with us and with other legislators to establish a dedicated child care fund in the state budget, even if this isn't fully funded at first, but you'll help us find or develop revenue sources for that fund? Yes or no?
Yes.
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 Tommy Brands, state rep, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And lastly, will you commit to meet with us in your first 45 days of office to begin these conversations?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Tommy Brand, candidate for state rep, yes.
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 At this time, we would like to give all of our candidates 1 minute to expand on their answers. Please be respectful of that time.
Can you just quick repeat the question again?
You want all three?
Yeah.
Okay. So our first question, will you commit to supporting increased funds for all child care scholarships to the level that they were prior to the ending of the pandemic, ARPA funds? So an 11% increase to get us back to where they were. Will you commit to working with us and other legislators to establish a dedicated child care fund in the state budget, even if it's not fully funded at first, and help us to find revenue sources for that fund? And will you commit to meeting with us in the first 45 days of office to begin these conversations?
Okay. So I'm going to start with the last one and go back. I'd be thrilled to continue meeting with Together West Michigan. I've developed a pretty healthy relationship with you all, particularly in this space. I've been meeting fairly regularly with the group since May of last spring. So these child care subsidies and the funding of child care is something that is very important to me as a former educator in the work that I do. So I've also been working with my colleagues. In fact, this week I had a meeting with the governor's office with a couple of other colleagues where we were talking about this budget shortfall. And as it turns out, we need $100 million dedicated funding in the state budget for this. And so we're talking about how we're going to do that, because it's not enough to raise the subsidies. That only gets us to status quo. And if we don't dedicate this money now, we will be over $100 million in shortfall in childcare by 2027. So we are on a path to nowhere. And so this funding is incredibly important.
Thank you very much.
Standing here taking a step back, I can't help but notice the cross back here, and the fact that really the bigger picture here obviously is all of our beliefs in Jesus Christ, and the fact that it all really comes down to family values. I can't speak. Carol's been in office, so she's got some really specific, really good stuff that she's working on, and that's great. But I can't speak to that exactly, other than the intentions of definitely this being a topic of where my heart is at. Without our children and solid families, and just overall kind of getting along, not making it partisan, or not making it, oh gosh, you're a Protestant, I'm a Baptist, some of our parents' age type things. We need to keep pushing forward with these things and I absolutely want to become part of the appropriations committee if I can, if I'm to get to Lansing, to help to push forward with both of these options, both adding to child
All
care
right,
and
thank
getting
you
pre-COVID
so much. Thank
numbers.
you for your
I
comment.
apologize. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Stepping forward so you can see me on the edge there. I'm John Fitzgerald, State Representative in the 83rd District. And seeing as this is an accountability forum, I want to talk a little bit about what we've done, because the answer to all these questions is yes, absolutely yes, we need to be doing this, and then some. And seeing as I am a father of a child 0 to 3, paying well more than 7% of my household income on child care, I have actually put forward a bill already to actually help with the cost of childcare, to build capacity in the childcare system, and to ensure that we are paying people not just a livable wage, but a commensurate wage with the skill that they bring to serving our children and families. Because yes, everything revolves around ensuring that families have the opportunity to access quality, safe childcare, to allow them to go to work, to build their lives, to serve their families and their neighbors. And so my proposal would actually bring $5,500 to every qualifying family with a child 0 to 3. Thank you.
Tommy Brand, I own a restaurant, and I've seen my servers and my cooks. I've seen them have to make choices between working or staying home, and I know how important it is that they work to support their family. I've seen my servers work so hard, and they make good money, but work so hard to go to Walgreens to buy diapers. So that's why I'm a yes on this. Also, meeting with this organization, of course. That's, as a state rep, I was for 6 years a state rep. And when you're a politician, you have to brag. So I was state rep of the year my last year, and I won the homeless award. And I met with a lot of people when we were working on homelessness, so I really took that personal. So yes, I definitely would meet with you, and yes, I do support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before my time in the state legislature, I spent 6 years as a school board member for Grand Rapids Public Schools. And what I know is that this is a continuation. We all pay the cost when our children are not well cared for, when our children are not educated. And so at GRPS, we saw what happened when children did not have access to early learning, early childhood centers, and pre-K learning. And when we look at what that result is in our school districts and in our communities, the impact is wide, it is large, we all feel it. And so I enthusiastically support this. I have been able to meet with this group before and happy to meet with them again, because it is not just the burden of the families who have these children, but it is the responsibility of the entire community to make sure that they are well cared for and educated so they can give back to this community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Once more, I'm Stephen Wooden, candidate for State House in the 81st District. And as many of you know, I'm currently a Kent County Commissioner. And there, one of my joys was working with Together West Michigan on childcare. We sat with that tension, we got into good trouble, and I am excited to get into more good trouble with you all to expand childcare in January. As a father whose 3-year-old just got out of childcare and into preschool, I can tell you the relief on my personal budget was tremendous, and I know that it is a cost to so many parents out there, but it's also a cost to all of us. And someone put the Michigan Chamber of all organizations put a number on this cost. $2.88 billion a year it is costing this state in educational attainment, in parents who can't get back to work, and the drain to our economy. We are paying for this already. So let's make sure we invest in childcare so we can move this state forward, make this state the best place it can be.
We really appreciate your input. Thank you.
Hi, Phil Skaggs, House District 80. I'm going to start before the clock starts. I might be 50s now, but I remember my 30s, like some of my colleagues. And that's why this issue is something that I'm so passionate about and try to talk about it as much as I possibly can. When I was on the county commission, we passed the Ready by 5 millage for the first time. That was something that had been attempted 2 times before and failed. I led the fight on the board to make sure that it got on the ballot and got passed. And it's unique for Kent County, helps out with health screenings and safety and play and learns. It is not daycare. I wish that it was. That's something that's going to happen at the state level. So as Representative Glanville mentioned, there are talks in Lansing. We feel very strongly about this. The governor feels very strongly about this, about ways to find a dedicated revenue stream, not just in every budget, but a dedicated revenue stream that can't be taken away to support these services.
Thank you all so much for your input. You can all go ahead and find your seats. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next issue is about new Americans. The state of Michigan needs hardworking people to build up our communities, people like new Americans in Kent County. Between 2014 and 2019, 38% of population growth in Kent County was new Americans. There are almost 60,000 new Americans in our county. Now, about 8% of the population. In 2021, new Americans in Kent County paid $493 million in taxes. We are doing many jobs. Other people don't want to work, like agriculture, construction, manufacturing, and more. Our work helps companies keep manufacturing jobs here in Michigan instead of cutting them or moving them. At the same time, in 2021, 26% of the people in Kent County without health care were new Americans. I know people who are dying in their homes because they don't go to the hospital. They are afraid of the medical bills. Now, or they lose Medicaid because they can't speak English yet, and they can't read the paper they get in the mail. 29% of new Americans in Kent County need help learning English. Many of us work hard and we want to work, but we are discriminated and abused and at work or fired because we can't speak English yet. Now is the time I would like to invite on stage Msafiri, who has a story. Please, let's come in on stage.
Habari za asubuhi waalikwa wote kwa ujumla.
Good morning, everyone.
Kwa jina naitwa Msafiri Shabani.
My name is Msafiri Shabani.
Mimi ni baba wa familia watoto 6.
I am a father of 6 children.
Mimi ni mhamiaji Mkongomani kutoka kwenye kambi ya wakimbizi Nyarugusu, Kigoma, Tanzania, East Africa.
I am a refugee from the country of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and I lived in the refugee camp in Tanzania.
Katika maisha yangu ya Afrika nilikuwa mwalimu wa shule la msingi kwa miaka 3.
And while I was in the camp, I was a teacher for 3 years.
Vile vile niliweza kufanya kazi kama youth supervisor kwa miaka 21 makambini.
And I worked as a youth supervisor for 20 years while I was in the camp.
Nilifika hapa Marekani tarehe 18 mwezi wa 5 mwaka jana 2023.
I arrived here in America last year, May 19, 2023.
Nilipata kazi tarehe 19 mwezi wa 10 2023.
August of last year, I had gotten a job.
Lakini tarehe 10 mwezi wa 6, 2024 niliweza kufukuzwa kazi kwa sababu sijue lugha ya Kiingereza.
June of this year, I was fired from my work because I do not speak English.
Nilijaribu kutafuta nafasi kwenye kampani zingine lakini walisema hakuna nafasi kwa sababu sijue Kiingereza.
I started looking around the companies looking for a job, but they weren't hiring anybody that doesn't speak English.
Lakini kwa sasa nadaiwa rent ya nyumba kwa miezi 2 kwa sababu sijalipa.
And as of right now, I have to pay my rent, and my landlord is asking for rent.
Mwenye nyumba aliweza kuripoti kesi yangu kwenye court.
The landlord went ahead and reported my case to the court.
Watu wa court walinitumia barua ya kwamba mwenye nyumba ana haki ya kunifukuza kwa muda wote anaotaka.
And the court sent the letter to the landlord and told them that they do have the ability to evict him whenever.
Swali langu ni kwamba je, serikali itatusaidiaje kwa hili tatizo?
And my question is, as our running officers, how are you able to help me in this issue?
Nguvu za kufanya kazi ninazo na nia ya kulipa ninayo, lakini sipati kazi.
I am able to work and I do want to work, but I can't find a job.
Asanteni kwa kunisikiliza.
Thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you so much for the story you just heard from Msafiri as one of the new Americans. Now, it's my pleasure to call our state candidate forward to the stage, please.
It's the same thing.
I am going to ask each of you 2 questions. And first, you will answer only yes or no to each question. Then you will have 1 minute to say more about your answers. Is that clear? Okay, the first question. Will you work with us to strengthen language support for new Americans at work, including opportunities to learn English and support in their native language as their lane?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. The second question. Right now, resettlement agencies can only offer 3 months of support to most people. Then the support is over. Will you work with us to develop stronger support for new Americans in Michigan so they can more fully contribute and succeed?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, each of you, you have 1 minute to say more about your answers.
Thank you. So, Carol Glanville, 84th District. Something that a lot of people don't know about me is that I lived overseas in a country where I did not speak the language or know the culture for a couple of years. And that was a choice I had a privilege to make. I was employed while I was there. I was protected by my employers. I was hired to be there. When I returned, however, it was a huge struggle just to get through day to day because I did not speak the language. I didn't know, medical coverage. I didn't know any of these things. And 3 months in, believe me, I needed support still. There's no way 3 months covers, especially for folks who are coming from potentially multiple transitions from war-torn states, from places where they have left their families and everything they know. And the fact that they are now underemployed is a travesty. When I hear people talking about, I'm a teacher, and I can't be a teacher in this country, like that is a shame. We should be embarrassed that we are treating these people the way that we do, and I'm eager to work on this.
Thank you.
Hi, John Wetzel, representative for District 84, Granville, Walker, West Side. You know, when my heart goes out to anybody that's willing to work, especially that has a full family, going back to the traditional family values, and they're not able to not only be able to contribute to our great economy, but in Michigan, the numbers are staggering when you go through that. So many people are out of work that could be working, that could be adding to. So I really believe that if I was to get to Lansing, it hits a fiscal point as well as an emotional point. It checks all the boxes. It isn't like it's not a partisan thing. So I don't see any problem, I mean, it's always a challenge, but I definitely think it's something that we need to work on and push forward with, and extend that well beyond 3 months. Thanks.
Thank you.
John Fitzgerald, State Representative, 83rd District. The answer here, too, is, of course, yes. With regard to the months of service, we need to work with our federal partners and our state partners to make sure that we have a supportive immigration system that allows everyone an equitable opportunity to thrive here in the United States, to protect them, to uplift them, and to promote the values that we as Americans hold dear, which is to ensure that everyone is treated equally. With regard to work that we've already done, I worked heavily with the Michigan Immigrant Rights Center to actually already make it so that state services must provide language support for those who do not speak English. So ensuring that those who need to address the Attorney General for wage theft because they're being taken advantage of by their employer, they can seek that at the Attorney General's office now. For DHHS support, for LEO support, that is what we need to do, is build a system that incorporates everyone. Immigrants, citizens, undocumented persons, everyone should have an opportunity here in Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Tommy Brand, candidate for the 8th District. I'm probably one of the few people actually hired refugees. I'm a small businessman, own a restaurant. I've seen the refugees, and sometimes we as Americans take this country for granted. And refugees come here with the love of this country, and they want to work so hard and they want to do so good. So the refugee I hired was such a hard worker, and he really cared about this country, and he cared about my restaurant. And so that's why I would enthusiastically say yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that we have to constantly remind ourselves that this country was built by immigrants, whether those immigrants came here willingly or whether those immigrants, or not immigrants, some curriculum calls my ancestors immigrants, but we were not. Whether people chose to come here or whether they were brought here, this country was built by them. And we have to give people supports. My great-grandfather came from South Africa with a group of men who established AME churches in America. And so he came to Ann Arbor, and the resources, what that impact has done for our state and for our country lives on, and so many other immigrant communities have those stories. I am more than happy to not only lend my support, but once again, this is not an issue that just affects those individual families, but it affects us as a community, as a country, and we have to really be honest about why we make a difference for the newcomers that are coming now compared to those who came before.
Thank you.
We are a nation of immigrants. New Americans are our nation's ghostwriters. The credit is only borrowed. But altogether too often in our nation's history, people in power and people with wealth have tried to pit new Americans against legacy Americans over resources, over access, over services, because they're hoping that if we're fighting each other, we are not pointing our eyes and our finger on those with wealth and power who continue to get tax break after tax break while we struggle over a shrinking pie. Enough is enough. We absolutely need to ensure that we pay forward the blessings that our ancestors were given to us on new Americans coming to this country yearning to breathe free. And that means working with you all on English language services, on making sure that refugees have the resources they need as they resettle, so that all new Americans coming to West Michigan can get their opportunity at the American dream. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Phil Skaggs. First, I want to thank you for putting this on your priority list. It is extraordinarily important, especially here in West Michigan. Michigan is a top 5 state in accepting refugees. We ought to be very proud about that. We have some wonderful organizations here. West Michigan receives 50% of those refugees. So we are doing good work. We are living our values. We are living our faith. Now, I'm the representative from Kentwood, so I understand new Americans, and I continual work to understand them better. But that makes it personal for me because I see it. And we need to be honest with ourselves. There is hateful rhetoric in this country right now about new Americans and immigrants. And we have to work to stop it. We have done good work, as Representative Fitzgerald mentioned, $40 million into translation services. We need to keep that in the budget and increase it if we can. Yes, the feds give us 90 days. We need to increase that in the state budget. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Now you may have your seat, please.
I thought I got another minute.
Oh, no.
I think maybe you all need a little bit more permission to cheer what just happened. You heard on stage. You heard on stage 14 yeses to the issues we brought forward today. That's a big deal. You need permission to celebrate that. I am mindful of the hundreds of hours that went into preparing this event. They are your hours. That means these are your yeses. Celebrate one another. I am mindful of the dozens of conversations that went into pulling this event off. Those are your conversations. That means these are your yeses. You did this. Celebrate one another. We have one more to go. Our final issue this morning is neighborhood safety and investment. I want to invite forward Cheryl Luth. She's the ministries coordinator at Fuller Avenue CRC. Jacob Ryder is a member at Fuller Avenue CRC, and Brianna Sims is a Third Ward resident. Please welcome them forward.
Good morning. My name is Cheryl Luth. I am a leader with Together West Michigan, a member of Fuller Avenue Church, and a longtime resident of this neighborhood. I grew up playing on these streets. I took swimming lessons at MLK Park. My grandparents lived on Boston near Giddings, and I went on to raise our kids in that very same house. And now my daughter and my grandkids live there. So 3 generations in this neighborhood. Yeah. For the past 5.5 years, I've also been on staff at Fuller Avenue Church as a ministries and community coordinator. I care a lot about this neighborhood. A few weeks ago, I was talking with one of my neighbors, and she commented, "It seems like downtown keeps changing, but this neighborhood doesn't. Arenas, entertainment venues, apartments, and more keep going up. But there isn't the same kind of gun-ho investment here in the Third Ward." It's the only ward in the city that doesn't touch downtown. The ward with the lowest median income and the ward with the highest black and brown population in the city. And I agree with her. It is not right. A message I want to clearly acknowledge that black and brown leaders and residents have been saying for decades. Investments aren't accidents, they are decisions. Decisions are made by people. And these decision makers have chosen over and over through the years to invest less in this ward. In youth program funding, infrastructure, park upkeep, school investment, housing, and the list goes on. We know there is some good development going on in Boston Square and the MLK Park Lodge, for example, But this pales in comparison to the investments downtown, where leaders have found or created new ways to invest hundreds of millions of dollars. The downtown at one time was in rough shape and needed deep investment. Mission accomplished. We are not against development. We are in favor of development, but we are in favor of development that encompasses every area of the city, especially the ones that have been ignored for too long. Grand Rapids includes a downtown, but it is more than downtown. We are here to echo the call that it is time to treat this neighborhood, this ward, the 3rd Ward, with the same attention, care, respect, and investment as the downtown. And now I want to turn the mic over to some residents from this neighborhood to tell you more.
Good morning. My name is Jacob Ryder. I'm a father, a husband, a sobriety mentor, and a leader with Together West Michigan at Fuller CRC. I was born and raised in this neighborhood. My mom had me at 16, father was nowhere to be found. But in this moment, it all felt normal. It was what I knew growing up. But when I entered kindergarten, I was lucky enough to win the school lottery and attended East Grand Rapids School District for my entire life. From the first day there, it felt like a fairy tale land. It was a fairy tale land because it seemed like there was an unspoken rule that the life all these other kids had could never be a reality for me. I would sit in awe at the conversations and guidance my friends would get from their parents, the unreal hobbies and things they would do with their families. One of the few places I found this kind of safe space in my neighborhood was a local place called a local center called the Seidman Center. I played football there and met one of the most influential men in my life, Mr. Brown. That man simply listened and always showed up. But there wasn't enough to keep me coming back. After Mr. Brown left, I fell through the cracks. With all the craziness in my home life and nowhere to go, I felt like a kid drowning in a pool, just flaring his arms, waving for help and attention. So what did this all lead to? Well, it led to about 16 different MIP charges by the time I was 16, 3 different probation officers across 3 different counties, all at the same time. And I'll just leave that part at that. But it took me 30 years to wake up and get sober. Now I do anything to keep kids from going through what I had to. Now I'm the adult, volunteering at the Seidman Center with the kids, volunteering at my daughter's school, working at the kids' food basket, our church pantry, our neighborhood community center, and I started a local AA meeting right in the basement of our church. But all these years later, I can say with certainty the same problems which let me fall through the cracks have gotten worse. One lesson has become crystal clear. We need safe places for our kids. They need an escape, and they need something to keep them busy. A place they can count on for positive and consistent positive role models. I'm trying to be that positive role model day after day, but individuals can't do it alone. We need more funding for youth programs in this neighborhood. We need to invest in this community as a city, because investing in our youth is investing in our future. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brianna Sims. I'm a product here of the Southeast Side. My roots have been grounded here for 31 years. I've seen the good, the bad, the rise, the fall, big and small. When I was a kid, I would walk to the neighborhood parks and stores on my own. My family did not worry that one day a reckless driver would prevent me from coming home alive. But now I am the adult, and because of countless accidents and too many deaths on the streets, our household no longer gives kids the chance to play in the park or run to the store. Our kids no longer have the freedom I once enjoyed. And our kids are not safe. Now I watch from the driver's seat as I pull to a stop sign, and I see my elders who once had the same security and safety to walk across the street, run, or refuse because they are afraid for their lives. And I hate it, and I don't want to see my elders to ever or have the fear of walking down their own streets. One day, 3 months ago, I heard a boom. I saw a car overturned on Dallas. I ran towards it. I was frantic. I didn't know what happened. I thought it was one of my family members. As I ran, I came across 2 children, terrified, who had lost control of a vehicle, and another child who lay ejected from the window, motionless. Now 1 child is dead, 2 are misplaced, 3 families are mourning, and our entire community is heartbroken. I'm here speaking for all generations. Enough is enough. We have taken a step as a community, organizing, going door to door on Dallas Street to collect signatures from residents who are fed up with the traffic and want to see their streets invested in. Now we are asking our candidates to take the next step and make sure the city listens to our people. We are asking you to be just as committed as we are to bring this change into our community. When we vote next month, we want to know exactly what are we voting for. We are here organizing with our brothers and sisters to make these changes happen. Let's slow this traffic down.
Good morning. I'm Pastor James Jones, co-pastor here with Pastor Peter T. Winkle. And this month is my 25th year being on staff here at Oakdale Park Church. Let me talk to you about a budget. A budget is a valuable document, and the Grand Rapids budget shows that we do not value the lives of those in this ward as much as we of the lives in other places. Our city, especially, compared to the downtown, the third ward seems to be nothing. We support development, and however, that development has to reflect that Grand Rapids is not just the downtown. It is the whole city. Another huge investment is being proposed downtown, a $730 million project at Fuller and Market for 3 towers of high-end apartments, condos, and hotels, and office tower, in exchange for $500 million in tax break. The project leaders are proposing to make a contribution of $8.5 million to the City Affordable Housing Fund over 20 years. This is less than $500 million developers for the 3 tower projects called the project site, the missing tooth of the smile of Grand Rapids. The missing tooth of the smile of Grand Rapids. No one likes a missing tooth. Nobody wants that. But a body is more than a smile. We can't focus only on the missing tooth and ignore the broken bones in other parts of the city. The development of the downtown development requires looking at new sources of money for investment that doesn't exist before, that hasn't existed before. If we can do that and find that kind of money for downtown, we can do it for our neighborhoods here. At this time, I'd like to invite the City of Grand Rapids candidates, Commissioner Bean Goy of 3rd Ward, if you would come up at this time. Mr. Marshall Kilgore for the 3rd Ward, if you would come up as well. Mr. David LeGrand for mayor, if you would come up at this time. Mrs. Sunita Lanier for mayor, if you would come up at this time. Y'all be in that order that I called you in, please. Thank you. Now we're going to do the same thing that you just saw done a couple of times. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. First, you will answer yes or no, one at a time for each question. Once you have each said yes or no to all 5 questions, then you'll have that 1 minute to respond to those questions. We're clear? You're smiling, David. You, Mr. All right, we're clear. So my first question, if re-elected or elected, will you work with us to implement immediate traffic calming measures such as speed checks, signs along Dallas and Kalamazoo Avenue? Yeah.
Yes, and have done so.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, but it's got to be citywide.
It's a yes or no question, y'all. Let me just reiterate that again. Y'all said y'all understood. Only one person did it so far.
Yes. Were we supposed to also say our names? I'm Sunita Lanier.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my sister. So on this second question, y'all can start by saying your names.
Okay.
Yes or no. Second question, will you commit to working with us to create a long-term traffic calming plan for those streets and the entire area that will rebuild safety, security for our families?
Bingo, a city commissioner for the 3rd Ward running for re-election, yes.
Marshall Kilgore, yes.
David LeGrand, yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Third question, will you work with us to convene key stakeholders to create a plan to fund year-round investment in youth programming in the 3rd Ward, after school, and during the summer?
Yes.
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 Will you work with us to push for a stronger affordable housing contribution from a 3-tower project downtown?
No.
Yes.
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 We heard Commissioner Goy make a strong no, right? So he'll get opportunity to respond on that. 5th question. Will you commit to meeting with us within the first 45 days of your term to start working on these issues?
Yes.
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 Commissioner Bing, your minute starts now.
Thank you. You've heard all my yeses, and certainly we can expand on that, but I'm sure you want to know why I said no. I said no because the question is too narrow. I think that we need, yes, we need housing, and we need the funding for the housing, but you know what we also need? We need funding for the people who live in the 3rd Ward for 30, 40 years to be able to stay in their homes, to be able to repair their homes, to be able to meet the high rising costs of maintaining home ownership. We have to have funding for those folks as well, because they are critically important for us. We need to have funding to have access for small developers to be able to do their projects and to be able to have it covered by over 80% of tax dollars like they have done with this particular project. We have to have affordable low-income housing that is critical, but must also be done across the city, not just in the 3rd Ward. And so I'm...
Thank you, Commissioner Bing. Appreciate that.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing?
Morning.
Doing all
Good
right?
morning.
Well, thank you, 1, for having me, and 2,
I was so happy when I met with Together West Michigan because I was smiling ear to ear because my platform and my beliefs are 100% in line with what our neighbors have been telling us, whether it's at a farmer's market or in church for many years, helping the environment, equitable housing for everyone, an economy that works for the working class and middle class. And I also have the opportunity to serve as the chair of the Vital Streets Oversight Commission, making safe and secure and strong streets for our communities. So you won't have to catch me up on these issues. I'm already working hard on these issues for you, volunteering for our city, and I will continue to be your most vocal, full-throated advocate for the issues that matter to you.
Thank you.
Hey folks, so I'm going to try to distill, since I've got a really short shot clock, a couple ideas that were sort of the sentiments there. The first is, why do we keep investing in downtown? And there's actually a conversation that started in Detroit about exactly that mission accomplished comment. In other words, right now we let all of downtown do tax capture. And what that boils down to is the rich get richer and other people don't thrive. So I think it is time we have a community conversation about whether we cap the caps on downtown tax captures. So there's a longer conversation there, but you're absolutely right, and I am so excited that this group is willing to start that conversation. The other thing I'm really excited about you guys having the conversation about is community safety that includes talking about fatalities on our roads. Because I will tell you, murder rates in Grand Rapids have really come down in the last year, but traffic fatalities are really going up. I biked here. How many of you biked here? It's dangerous. Mm-hmm. We really have to work on prioritizing pedestrians, cyclists, and making the city for people.
Good morning. My name is Sunita Lanier, and I moved here at the age of 9. I grew up on Bates and Nealon. I'm a Creston High Polar Bear. I'm a Cornerstone Eagle. This is my neighborhood. My very first house that I bought was on Temple Street. Temple and Fuller. Fuller Avenue, CRC, was our neighborhood association. So I'm very familiar with this work and what is being asked of us today. I actually worked near Dallas and Kalamazoo. So when we were asked and we were talking about the tragedy that took place in that area, I'm very familiar with it. I worked in the LifeQuest building. Some of what I've done as commissioner that I'd like to expand as mayor is the establishment of the Third Ward Equity Fund. We established that fund for the very reason that you all were mentioning today, that there is underinvestment here, and I'd like to fully fund it. Right now it's being funded annually at $1 million. I'd like to increase that funding so that we can increase our investment. And I also mentioned SAFE as well.
Thank you so much. Let's give these candidates a good round of applause. Thank you so much for your time.
That's more yeses, y'all. You heard more yeses, right? More yeses. Your voice, your power made those yeses possible. So we're coming to the end of our time together this morning. To each and every one of the candidates who joined us this morning in the work of democracy, thank you for being here. Thank you for your yeses. Thank you for pledging to work with us in these first 45 days of your time in office. Together, West Michigan, you and the 18,000 people that we represent, we've spoken to the candidates, they've heard about our issues, they know where we stand, we know where they stand. Now, I'm speaking to you and the people that you know. People ask me on a regular basis, why don't we have that beloved community that we've heard about for so long? If you're a promoter of justice like Sister Bridget is, you know those words, you know where they come from, and you know what they mean, and you feel like I do that so often they seem like a dream still today. And I worry it's because even you and I and those we know get a little tempted by those latest food trends and fashions that we see on TV. We get a little lost in TikTok trends and streaming services, and even we can be seduced by new athletic stadiums and concert venues, and yes, even tall riverfront towers. But I need to remind you this morning that a just and beloved community doesn't need consumers. It needs citizens. It needs engaged citizens willing to show up. And I'm not talking about having a piece of paper that says you're a citizen. I'm talking about people who will take responsibility for acting together and shaping our communities for the good of all people. Change in our communities requires committed citizens who will show up, not just on election day, but every day, all year long. Committed citizens who show up not just at the voting booth, but at commission meetings and legislative hearings, who show up not just to make calls to their local representatives, but will show up on their neighbors' doorsteps, inviting them into this movement. Making change requires power. You and I and all those we know need to be those kinds of citizens. Power means we have to be organized all year long. Election day will come and go, but we will still be here, building relationships, holding decision makers accountable, and acting together. A just and beloved community requires committed citizens who show up, who stand up, and who spread the word. Will you show up with me? Will you stand up for what's right with me? And will you spread the word? If you want to see change in your communities, it's as important that we hold one another accountable as it is that we hold these candidates accountable, which is precisely why you have a commitment card in your hand, on your chair, underneath your seat. We are taking 60 seconds for each of you to fill out the card that you have in front of you. Go. Oh, there are pens around if you need it? Is that what you're saying? Oh, cards if you need it. Raise your hand if you need a card. Ten seconds. All right. You've made your commitments. And I need to remind you again that there have been 6 neighborhood walks so far. One of the reasons that all of the people are here in this room this morning is because people dedicated their time, walked these neighborhoods, had hundreds of conversations, and invited their neighbors to be here. We are here today because of the hard work of engaged citizens who are part of Together West Michigan. We want to see that work continue. So I want to invite you, if you are committed to vote on November 5th, will you raise your card in the air right now? Hold your card up, wave it around for everybody to see. If you are committed to participating in an upcoming neighborhood walk, will you raise your card in the air and wave it around? This work doesn't happen unless we walk these streets. And will you hold your card in the air if you're committed to learning more about the issues that are important to you and to us and to our neighbors? Don't leave this room and forget what you wrote on this card. These yeses will continue to happen the more and the longer we stay engaged. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, Pastor Peter. Before we wrap up, I would like to share with you something important about Together West Michigan. Our Our church, Restoration Community Church, is part of Together West Michigan because we joined this organization because it gave us power. It gave us a space to speak out. So, Together West Michigan is not about me or about you, but it's about us. With Together West Michigan, we build a relationship and we are strong. That's why we joined Together West Michigan. I am the real example before you. I came from Africa, but today I'm co-chair. So I'm proud to be part of Together West Michigan. So here's the question. Are you ready to work?
Yes.
Let's go work. Thank you so much for coming today. God bless you.